On June 28, 2026, at the Paris Diamond League, the 100-meter final was decided by 0.01 seconds. Trayvon Bromell crossed the line in 9.91. Noah Lyles finished right behind him in 9.92. Lamont Marcel Jacobs took third in 9.96. The gap between first and second place was literally smaller than the time it takes you to read the word gap. And here's the thing, these three men are doing it again. Nike Prefontaine Classic, Hayward Field, Eugene, Oregon, Saturday, July 4th, 4:37 p.m. Eastern. Rematch. On American soil, on the 4th of July. If you are not watching this, I genuinely do not know what you are doing with your weekend. Let me be real with you for a second. Sprinting in 2026 is not a sport right now. It is organized chaos, and every single weekend, someone is doing something that makes the previous weekend look boring. The Paris final alone would have been the race of the year in almost any other season, and it happened on a random Diamond League Saturday in June. Bromell wins by 100th. Lyles misses by 100th. And I've already seen people online saying Lyles is overrated after this result, and I want to address that immediately because it is wrong. Losing a 100-meter final by 0.01 seconds to the most explosive starter alive does not make you overrated. It makes you the person who ran 9.92 seconds, which is faster than almost every human being has ever moved on two legs. Let's calm down and think straight before we start writing people off. Now let me break down exactly what we are looking at going into the Prefontaine Classic, because this field deserves a proper breakdown, not just names and times. Starting with Trayvon Bromell. His greatest weapon is the first 30 meters. That's it. That's the secret. His drive phase mechanics, his reaction time, his explosive force production out of the blocks. It's all built specifically for that opening stretch where he can separate from the field before anyone else has even found their rhythm. The man came out of those blocks in Paris like he forgot to pay rent and the landlord was standing at the finish line. If Bromell gets a clean start on July 4th, the conversation at 30 meters is already over for most of the field and everybody watching knows it. Then there is Noah Lyles, and here is where I need to get something straight that some people have been getting wrong. Lyles does not have the fastest start in this field. At his quickest, his first 30-meter split sits around 3.90 seconds. Usain Bolt's was 3.78 at his peak. That gap is real, and the official split data backs it up. So if someone tells you Lyles beats anyone to the 30-meter mark, push back on that, because the numbers say otherwise. What Lyles does that is genuinely special happens after 40 meters, when everyone else starts to tighten up and their form begins to break down. He keeps building. His top-end speed is on a different level. His relaxation under pressure is something that takes years of championship experience to develop, and his late race strength is what wins him titles when the race is close. He has enough world championship gold medals to fill a display case, and none of those came from having a bad second half of a race. Lamont Marcel Jacobs ran 9.96 in Paris to finish third, and that result combined with what he did in Austria should be enough to tell you he is completely back. This is the Olympic champion, the European record holder, a man who ran a wind-assisted 9.67 in Austria that officially became the second fastest 100 meters ever run by a human being under any conditions. 9.96 in Paris was not him at his ceiling. That was him at a Diamond League stop mid-season. By July 4th at Hayward Field with a rematch atmosphere and a crowd ready to explode, do not be shocked if Jacobs produces something that changes the entire conversation around this final. And then there is the 200-meter race sitting right alongside all of this, which honestly might be the most interesting storyline of the entire weekend, and people are sleeping on it. Sam Blaskowski, the kid from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, who got exactly one phone call from a Division III school when every D1 program in America scrolled past his name, who worked a shift at a small regional airport to fund his own move to Florida just to find out how fast he really was, is now lining up in the 200 meters at the Prefontaine Classic against Letsila Tebogo, the Olympic champion, against Jarnell Hughes, a world-class 100 and 200 meter medalist, against Courtney Lindsay, who has sub 19.80 capability and curve running efficiency that makes the 200 meter event look like his personal playground, against Makana Kaishe Charamba, Jose Figueroa, Adrian Kerr, Brian Level, and Tate Taylor. I've seen people try to dismiss D3 athletics like it's recreational jogging, and I want to put that to rest right now, because to even qualify for D3 nationals, you need to run sub 10.5 seconds, and the nationals average sub 10.3 every year. That is not slow. That is just a division where the best athletes didn't get the right recruiting call, and Blaskowski is the loudest possible proof of that. Now, let me tell you what actually decides these races, because names and times only tell you part of the story. Reaction time out of the blocks matters more than most casual viewers realize. One poor reaction, and the race has already shifted before the crowd has even made a sound. Block clearance and drive phase execution in the first 30 to 40 meters is where races are won and lost before anyone watching has fully processed that the gun went off. Posture and relaxation in the final 20 meters is where the gap between a great time and a good one lives. The athletes who tighten their shoulders and clench their jaw in the final stretch are the ones who watch the time come up and wonder what happened. Lyles stays loose. Hughes stays. Hughes stays loose. That is not an accident. That is the result of thousands of hours of doing exactly this under championship pressure. And in the 200, curve running efficiency and speed endurance are the whole game. Lindsay's ability to hold his form around the bend and carry it straight into the final 80 meters is genuinely difficult to deal with when he is in form. And Tebogo's composure means he almost never fades when the race gets hard. Hayward Field is one of the fastest tracks in the world. The atmosphere in Eugene on a big weekend is the kind that makes athletes run times they didn't know they had in them. And July 4th adds an entire extra layer to that, because this is America's Independence Day, a home crowd, the best sprinters alive, and a rematch of one of the closest 100-meter finals of the entire season. I think Lyles wins this one. His top-end speed advantage becomes more valuable on a fast track at a big meet where the atmosphere lifts everyone. And I think the championship experience he carries into a final like this makes the difference when it gets close. But if Bromell gets out of those blocks clean and builds through 60 meters without anyone touching him, nobody on this planet is catching him before the line. That is the whole race, right there in one sentence. So here is what I want to know. Prefontaine Classic 100-meter final, July 4th, Eugene, Oregon. Who wins it? Does Bromell go back-to-back and make this his season? Does Lyles take it back on home soil on the 4th of July? Or does Jacobs show up and remind everyone why he was standing on an Olympic podium? Drop your prediction in the comments, like the video, subscribe, because the 2026 sprint season is nowhere near finished and the best races might still be in front of us.